What up, everybody? I just finished an awesome episode with a guy named Derrick Edington, professional baseball player, prospect in the Tampa Bay Rays organization from the UP here in Michigan. Incredible episode. This guy battled so much adversity, and when I say adversity, I say just the journey to get to professional baseball. It was a really long episode. We really dove in. He's been my throwing partner over the last 3 months here at the Stevens Complex in Michigan, and we dove into his family life, his background, his family, his brothers. He's 6'8", 235 pounds. So we talked about movement patterns, how he's throwing 100 miles an hour, and we talked about, hopefully the things that allow him to get to the big leagues this season. Enjoy the episode, guys. You like how I just rolled into that? We just went from shooting the shit to going into it. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, we have Derrick Edington here. So normally what I do is, like, after you and I talk, I'm going to do a little recap of the episode. So they've already been introduced to you. But Derrick has been, I'm going to say this, you've probably been my best friend since we've been here. We started out as throwing partners, or as I was kind of just getting to know you, here in the facility, but it's really turned into a really cool friendship. So I've gotten to know you, and I know your whole story. So it's going to be really weird, not your whole story, but we're going to try to unpack this thing a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for the people that are listening that might not be from Michigan, what do they call you? Youpers?
Yeah, so, they call us Youpers.
The UP.
Yeah, because, Michigan is broke up into two. You got the Lower Peninsula where basically everything is at, Detroit and Lansing, Grand Rapids, all the cities and everything.
Is that just the land? Is that what it basically means, like the state of Michigan, or is it technically like divided?
Well, it's separated. There's a bridge that connects.
Okay, that's what I was saying. The peninsula is literally like a piece of land that's off, right?
Yeah, so the peninsula, the Upper Peninsula, is actually connected to Wisconsin. It has no connection to the lower part of Michigan.
No way.
And so there's a lot of people like in the western UP that are Packers fans, and like there's some people that say that we should actually be a part of Wisconsin.
I was just going to say, how are you not part of Wisconsin? That's wild.
I don't know.
I'm not a geography person.
The Ohio Treaty or something like that, some history, some U.S. history that I don't
that's
know
not
about.
my thing, yeah.
But yeah, so they call us Youpers,
yeah.
and there's not a lot going on up there. You got all the colleges for the most part. There's some Division II schools up there. But like no baseball or anything like that. That's all down in the lower Michigan.
And you were literally telling me that like you grew up in a town, right? You'd have to go into town to go get things, right? Like there's a few things probably where you are, but like
so like the setup in the eastern Upper Peninsula where I'm from is like Sault Ste. Marie is like the centrally located, like Walmart is there, Meijer is there.
All the main shit.
All the stuff that you would see driving around down here is in that one spot. And then there's smaller towns kind of spread out away from that. And so, as a kid, like to go get groceries, to go to Walmart, it was like, hey, it's Saturday, we're going to Walmart to go and run errands and get groceries and everything. And me and my 3 younger brothers, we'd jump in the car with Mom, and it was a 45-minute drive from my house to drive into town. I'm from Pickford, Michigan, which is a small town, and it was 15 minutes just to get to Pickford, and then you had to go into Pickford and then jump on the main road that would go to Sault Ste. Marie. That's another 30 minutes, and so it was a 45-minute drive. One way.
In your city, you were so far in like out there. You had to go into your city, and then your city led you.
Yeah, you had to go, and I can't even really call it a city.
Okay.
I mean, you drive into town, and
the town,
and then you drive from the small town to the bigger town so that you can get, your necessities.
I can't wait to go up there. Yeah.
So that you can pack your cabinets with food.
That's
we had a small grocery store. You could get a gallon of milk or stuff like that. But like the main stuff that you would get at a Walmart, you had to go to.
Yeah. Would you guys go once a week? Would it be like, hey, this is when we're going getting our weekly groceries?
Yeah, it was like a once a week. Maybe twice a week type of deal, It was never like, hey, we're going to go up on Tuesday and then we're going to be back up here on Thursday. It wasn't like that, just because it was like, it was a trip, And we would go, me and my brothers, we were all growing and played sports.
Well, that's what I was just going to say.
And so like that bill.
I was going to say that grocery bill's got to be crazy.
Oh, God bless my parents, man.
Oh my God.
Because I don't know how they did it. Those grocery bills were steep. And, we would go get, 6 or 8 gallons of milk You know, you would come back with, it was like a Costco run, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything, you were almost buying like wholesale because like you had to, and we had a fridge in our garage that was separated from the house, and we would come back from the grocery run, and you would put like half the stuff in the garage fridge, and then the other half would go in the house, and then like as you know, you hated to be the guy that drank the last glass of milk. Because if you drank the last glass of milk, then you were expected to walk out to the garage and go and grab a new one. And so like
how much milk was left all the time with the boys?
Oh
right there,
yeah,
right?
you'd open the fridge and you'd see like a little bit left in it, and you'd be like, I don't need milk. I don't need it that bad.
Water sounds good right now.
I'll wait till one of my brothers goes and gets it and tell him like, oh, you drink it, you gotta go get it. Yeah, no, that was really how it was.
Oh,
and like
I mean,
you've experienced a little bit of winter here in Michigan now, and I can tell you right now, in the Upper Peninsula, it's 10 times worse than the winters here. And if you had to go out to the garage at 8 o'clock at night on a January storm, you know, where it was -10 outside, it was like, you know, I think I'm okay. I don't need milk.
Water sounds way better than milk right now. Yep. Anything else?
So, yeah, it was a different lifestyle growing up, but it was good though. You know.
Absolutely. And then you and I have talked about that. Like, I think that lifestyle is it's so different than normal society and stuff. And I really think like just true human nature comes out there. And again, I've gotten to know you over the last 3 months or something, and you're a great dude. Like, I just think that kind of stuff just changes people, and you're raised differently, a little bit more holistically, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I just think that it's just different, it really is.
Yeah, no, it is. And, you know, I grew up in a town where like everybody knows everybody, you know, and I feel like that was a different element of being raised that not everybody gets, you know what I mean? Like moving down here for college, and like, you know, you and I have talked about it where, you know, the first time that I went to a grocery store when I was in Battle Creek and I went to Kellogg, you know, and walking around getting groceries and running into people that you didn't run into people that you knew, you know, because you knew nobody, you know, and I feel like, you know,
that experience is so crazy. Like, your experience going to the grocery store, you're expecting to know everybody, and it's like everybody else goes to the grocery store not expecting
Right. Well, I mean, you think about it like in an area like take this area for example. You know, there's dozens of Walmarts and dozens of Myers.
You go to the one that's closest to you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and growing up where I was at, you know, there was one. There's one Meijer. There's one Walmart.
Yep.
And everybody in the area, when they got to get groceries, they go to those places. And so, yeah, I mean, I would go to Walmart with my parents to go get groceries, and like you ran into everybody. You know,
so it would be like a 3-hour trip.
It
right?
would.
You'd
be in there, and my dad knows everybody, and so every aisle that you went down was like, oh, there's so and so. I used to work with him, 20 years ago, and they'd sit there and
bullshit
for 10, 15 minutes and catch up at the Walmart.
Yeah.
And then you go on your way, and you get down a couple aisles later. It's like, oh, there's so and so, and you know, it just.
But again, such a lost
everybody knew everybody, you know, and it taught you, you know, it taught you people skills, you know, because you're constantly engaging with different people, you know. It was kind of like knowing everybody like that. You knew that you had people that could help you. Like if you were broke down on the side of the road, you knew that somebody was going to come along and stop, and they were going to help you, and you would do the same. You know, if I was driving home and somebody was in the ditch in the wintertime, you know, it was like, I'm going to stop and check on them, because chances are I know that person, you know what I mean? Like, I might go to high school with that person, or that might be his parents or whoever, you know? Like, you just knew everybody because it was so tight-knit, you know? I mean, I graduated with 33 kids in my graduating class, and I was with, you know, probably 3/4 of those 33 from the time that we were in preschool or kindergarten all the way up to graduating, you know? So, like, and you get to know their brothers and their sisters and their parents and everything, you know, just because you're with each other all the time. You don't really have a choice, you know. So
my favorite story that you told me too was that cook that you went to, or the diner up there.
Oh,
Big D, right? And just little
Big
things
D's
of like,
Diner, man.
exactly. And
shout out Big D's Diner.
That's
man.
it. And you were like, you've been
best
around.
breakfast food.
Yeah, but that to me is like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like being in there, and you were like, I just went back there and told them like, hey man, I've been all around, and like, this is the best. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
like,
when I was in high school, it was Big D's Diner, and then there was another one. It's no longer there, but it was called the Main Street Cafe.
Okay.
And they were the only 2 restaurants in my town, in Pickford.
Yeah.
And when we were in high school football, we would go on like Thursdays, it'd be like walkthrough, you know, practice, just getting ready for the game the next day. And after walkthroughs, our whole team would walk down from the school because it was right up the road.
Yeah.
And so we would walk down from the school after walkthroughs on
my
Thursday,
God.
and we would go to the Main Street Cafe,
That's
and they would
dope.
feed us.
Yeah.
And it was like, and we would have this huge lined table
No
with
way.
all the guys, the coaches, everybody would go down
That's
there,
dope,
and
yeah.
we get food down there, and it was like. It was that small town vibe, you know what I mean? And like there was posters in the restaurants of like "Go Panthers,"
Yeah.
you know, whatever. It was cool, you know. It was almost looking back on it now. It was almost like a movie, you know.
Yeah.
Like you watch a sports movie, and it's like a little bit of similarity of like, you know, that's how it was. You know?
And I can't wait till you get to the big leagues too, because those cities, those things, how relevant you're going to be when you get there too. You're going to be like, this is so different than anything I've ever experienced. So, and again, just getting to know you, it's never going to change you. You're a great human being, and that's the coolest part. Is like I think those scenarios ground you as a human. Like, and even just getting to know your story and why I was so passionate about getting it out there was like your story is one so incredible, but then I think like who you are and how you carry yourself every day is so true to like how you were raised. And the more I hear your stories, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. Like it really is. So tell me a little bit too, because I know about your family. We talked about the grocery bills. You're the oldest of 4 brothers.
Yep.
And you guys are all freaking beasts too. So
Yeah.
people that are listening to the podcast, Derrick is 6'8", 235.
Yeah.
Right. So, and all your brothers are just as big as you.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
that's
I got
crazy.
3 younger brothers. 2 of them are 6'7", like probably 230 to 250, and then my youngest brother, I think he's 6'9", because I think he's taller than me, and he's like 280.
Oh my God.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
No, he's massive.
Dude, your parents are like
Like I
seriously.
said, man, the grocery bill was through the freaking roof, man.
I can't.
mean,
I don't even understand how that. Like that's so crazy. But
no,
yeah,
it was awesome. And
And you guys all played sports, right? Growing
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
mom
we
and
all-
dad played sports too.
yeah, my mom played college basketball at Michigan Tech University for a year.
Nice.
And then she had an injury. I think it was a back injury or a knee injury or something that she chose to go a different route, and she transferred schools and played volleyball at Missouri Valley,
Oh, nice.
which I believe is an NAIA school. I'm not sure
so,
on
yeah.
that, but she went and played volleyball down there. My dad, he was a good high school athlete, ran track, football, played basketball. Never played in college. His senior year he had a compound leg fracture.
I remember you telling me that.
And he was never the same after that. So he didn't play college, but he was a good high school athlete. Yeah, and you know, I'd like to think that it transferred down. I'm a pretty good athlete.
Freak.
I got to play basketball with my brother right below me when I was a senior. He was a freshman.
Oh, that's dope.
And that was awesome. He's a freak athlete. You know, like I've told
I've seen
you,
the
like
videos of
there's
him
videos
dunking,
of him
yeah.
doing dunks that I
These
couldn't
kids are
do.
freaks. That's what I'm saying. This
Yeah,
is nuts.
yeah.
Like
And
this
my
is.
2 younger brothers, they were both awesome football players, and probably my youngest brother definitely could have played at past high school, and he chose not to. But yeah, just good athletes, and it was awesome growing up with having 3 younger brothers, because like we were so close, and we still are to this day. We're so close. You know, we used to play sports in the backyard. We played 2-on-2 baseball in the backyard,
So jealous.
and
That's
like
so sick.
2
Basketball games were probably so sick too.
2-on-2 football,
Yeah.
and like, you know, we played a fair amount of basketball.
More football though.
Football was the one. You know,
I love
just
that.
Because like we
Just go hit each other.
We just
and,
love
like,
to beat up on each other. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
And I was, you know, some people might say that it was being a bad older brother, but I used to let my brothers. I'll never forget. I used to let my brother right below me. I would let him run past me when we were playing football in the backyard. I would let him run past me because I knew I could chase him down.
Yeah.
And I'd let him run past me, and I'd chase him down, and I'd shove him in the back, 2 hands in the back, and he'd just barrel roll.
He's got all his momentum going for it.
Yeah. Just ruthless, man. And yeah, that was what we did though. We would go
that's-
outside and we would play outside
Absolutely.
for hours, man. It was a different sport every single time, you know, and it was awesome. It created that like. That taste for competition, you know, and everything was a competition.
Absolutely.
You know, we'd sit down at the dinner table, and it was, who could clear the plate the fastest. It was, everything.
Yeah.
Video games, I can't even count how many times that we would get the game system taken from us because we'd be
Fighting after.
We'd be fighting after, because so and so beat so, and it wasn't fair for whatever reason, and it was like, it was just
duke it out. Yep. But now we're taking
constant
that away.
competition, constant banging heads, it was just, but it was awesome because, when we were kids, we were close and didn't know that we were that close when we were kids because we thought that like we hated each other, because it was just this constant competition with one another. And as we got older and, now we're all adults, and like I talk to my brothers every single day, and they're checking up on me, how baseball's going, how everything's going.
Yep.
I do the same with them, ask them how their jobs are and, what they've been up to and whatnot. And we stay, my family is super close, and I'm very grateful for that, because it's nice to have those home roots, to always be able to fall back on. And, like if I just need to talk to somebody, I know that I got, not only do I have, my mom and my dad, I got my brothers, and there's other people just in my community because of, like I said, with it being the community's so small, everybody's so close that there's people in my community that I'm not even related to that, I call all the time just to check in and see how they're doing,
Wow.
So it's nice to have, a lot of options, a lot of people in my corner, and having that connection, to be able to reach out.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, don't ever forget that too. I don't think you're that person that will, but I really think that that's such a skill set that you have. And again, in my phase of life where I was at starting this new leaf, I was in a weird way drawn to that. I was just like, damn, this guy, family, it all matters, the right things, right? Like I'm just like, and again, I've told you, and I might say some things that I haven't said to you because like as guys, we don't talk like this one-on-one, right? But like I've told you how I see you physically, and I'm like, this is fucking different and stuff, but you carry yourself differently. You care about the right things, you're a family guy, like I heard it in your voice, like the second day I met you, how passionate you were about your brothers and stuff like that. I'm like, damn, this guy cares. Like, and so what I'm saying is like, that's a really valuable trait. And as you keep ascending in the world, don't forget that stuff. I don't think you're gonna, but I'm just saying like, it's something that I think is admirable. And again, as you go into this world where everything's so demanding, everything's so intense, it's nice to go back and to be like, I want this small town vibe, call my people,
absolutely.
just disconnect a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think it keeps you grounded too.
Absolutely.
And it does kind of like, it for me, it takes my mind off of, the pressures that come with, this career path, where it's like there's always pressure to go out and perform, and things don't always go the way that you want them to. And it's nice to be able to go back and make a call back home and kind of get grounded and realize like, I love baseball, like it's what I'm most passionate about in life, but at the end of the day, like there's more to this life than just my baseball career or just what's happening between the lines on a baseball field, you know what I mean? Like there's so much more, and I know that that's always there for me, you know what I mean? Like it gives you a sense of calm, when things might not be going as good as you want them to be going, so.
One of the things it just popped into my mind. I remember when I was a kid, my dad was always like, don't stress about baseball, dude. Like, no matter what, you can always like, you have a life outside of this, He was like, there was a quote, I think it was Goose Gossage, Louisiana Lightning was, I don't know if that was him, but Ron Guidry, that's who it was. He was like, if all this just goes away tomorrow, it means I'm back fishing at my house tomorrow. That's pretty good life for me.
Exactly.
I feel like that is you on a tee. It'd be like, okay, if this baseball thing's taken, I get to go back to the UP and like live my great life,
That's exactly it.
Just perspective.
And there's actually been times in throughout the years of me playing, where I've been frustrated because I'm a passionate outdoorsman. I love
competitive,
I love to hunt. I love to fish. I love to be in the outdoors. And there's been times where I've gone home and I'm like, damn, like why do I leave this? Like I have everything that I want right here in front of me, because we grew up on the water, we grew up in the woods, and like that was our playground, was the outdoors, and that's how I became so passionate about it. My dad was very passionate outdoorsman, still is, and my dad has told me a very similar thing where when I get frustrated about it, I'm like, Dad, like I just want to fish, and I just want to hunt, and I just want to earn a living and just be comfortable that way, and he's like, son, that's always going to be there.
Yep.
Like, whether, if you play into your 30s, or even your late 30s, like this is always going to be here for you to come back to. But baseball and what you have right now and the opportunity that you have in front of you, that's right now. And that's not gonna be there 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. You know what I mean? Like you gotta go right now. You know, and you and I have talked about that story too. You know, of him telling me like, no, you're gonna go to the tryout. Just go down to the tryout and see what happens. And if you don't make it, then you come home and you can work construction, do whatever you want to do. You know, and you can hunt and fish the rest of your life.
Exactly.
You know, but if you go down and you make the team, just see where it goes. Just play ball. You know, and see where it goes. And now fast forward, 3-4 years later, now here I am. In the position that I'm in and have an opportunity in front of me to do something really fun, that I wouldn't have had otherwise if my dad wouldn't have kind of gave me that nudge and been like, hey, like, just go do it right now and see what happens.
Don't worry about it. And having that father figure, somebody that you respect, trust so much to be like, to give you that confidence to be like, stop worrying about what you're missing. Like, what you're doing is less than a 1% type lifestyle. So this outdoors it's gonna be here. I love that. Just perspective, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I love that. But let's talk about that baseball thing because again, I met you here in September, October-ish, probably something, and Steele had talked about you, and said you were tall. And so I was like, all right, I'm excited to see this. And most tall guys, again, I played baseball for a long time. I played catch with so many guys. Being 6'8", 235 pounds, the way you carry yourself, I'm like, holy shit, like this is different. So let's talk about your story because for me, we're very similar builds, but I don't move the way you do. And because of my circumstances and the way that I think I got lucky, and not to say that I didn't earn it at the time, and all that stuff, but like I was in the right place, right time, right? And so I got a scholarship to LSU and I was kind of on a different trajectory than you had. But when I watch you throw a baseball, I'm like, this is a fucking crime that this kid didn't have this path, right? So let's talk about how wild your path is out of high school.
Yeah.
Any recruiting? What was the...
Yeah. So in high school, I was not a baseball player. I played baseball.
You're on the team.
But basketball was my sport that I was passionate about in high school. That was the one that I, wanted to do beyond high school, and I had far more basketball offers than I had baseball offers. I had 2 baseball offers to 2 community college, Kellogg Community College and Muskegon Community College.
No way.
And I threw 80 miles an hour. I was not.
But you were your height, you said, right?
I was like 6'6" or maybe 6'7" at that time. I grew maybe another inch after high school, another inch and a half maybe or something like that. But I was still tall, and I was
skinny,
I was 180 pounds.
Yeah, you were
I was
not developed,
super skinny,
very raw.
But I was pretty athletic for my build at that time, and so the story goes, I was a senior in basketball. It was March, playoff time. We were going into district finals, district finals, and we were playing our crosstown rival, and we had split with them that year, and it was always intense when we played those guys over in Cedarville, and I was getting recruited at the time to Lake Superior State University. It's the local Division II up in the Sioux, where all the Walmart and everything's at. And I was getting recruited to play basketball there, and that was where I wanted to play. And so, I talked to my dad. It was the night before or the day of the game or something like that. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna go to Cedarville. We're gonna beat those guys, and I'm gonna commit, and I'm gonna go to Lake State, play basketball. And he was like, all right, cool. So we go down there, and it's packed. It was super cool atmosphere. And second play into the game, we're on a fast break, and I get the ball passed to me on the fast break. I go up to dunk the ball, I get undercut, and kind of did a helicopter spin in the air. Went to catch myself, and when I caught myself, it was all the gyms up there are small, right?
Yeah.
So the wall from the baseline to the wall is not a lot of space.
Yeah.
And so I kind of came down right up against the wall, and when I caught myself, initially my whole arm goes numb, my whole left arm goes numb, and I'm I thought I hit my funny bone. I'm whatever. And my brother, it's crazy that it was my brother that came over to help me up off the floor. He comes over to help me up off the floor, and I pick my arm up to reach out to him, and my wrist is my arm's just mangled. I just snapped my wrist, and it was just a big bump. My wrist, if you just took your wrist and just pushed it up, is what my arm looked like. It was nasty.
Ew.
And so,
not compound though. It didn't go through the skin.
No, it didn't come through the skin. It just snapped and pushed itself up. It almost looked like it was dislocated.
Yeah.
And that was another thing too. So he goes to help me up off the floor. I see my arm, and I'm oh my God! I start screaming all sorts of cuss words and freaking out. everybody's coming over, covering my arm up so nobody can see it, whatever. And they carry me off the court back to the locker room. And I'm sitting in the locker room. It's my mom, my dad are in there. Bunch of people. I couldn't tell. There was a couple of people in the crowd that night that were like EMTs, and so they were in there looking at it, and I overheard one lady say that like, oh, it might just, it looks like it might just be dislocated, and I'm sitting there on the bench, laid on my back, my mom's sitting over top of me, and I'm like, Mom, if it's dislocated, then just pop it back in.
Yeah, I'll go play.
And let me go play. Like I want to go back out.
I love it.
And like there was,
you were just hanging for one little.
I
heard it. She said it might be dislocated.
That's exactly what it was. I was just hanging on by a thread. Like it's fine. Just pop it in. I'm good.
Yeah.
And so, but there was a couple other people.
Were you in like excruciating pain though?
No, there was so much adrenaline. Right.
True,
there was so much adrenaline and emotions and everything that like it hurt, but like it wasn't like. Later on, it hurt a lot worse.
Of course,
But in the moment, I'm like, just pop it back in.
Right, I'm good. I want to get back out there. I'm missing the game. I'm going to commit.
I remember telling my mom, I was like, Mom, if you guys don't do something and pop my arm back in, like I'm going to pop it back in and I'm going back out there. And there was a couple other people in there, a couple other opinions, and they were like, no, like it's broke, like it's not good.
My gosh.
And so they call an ambulance, whatever, and the nearest hospital to take me to was in the Sioux, which from Cedarville is probably like 45 minutes to an hour or something like that. And the night that we played that game, there was a huge snowstorm that came through the area, and the road to drive up to the Sioux was closed.
Oh my God.
They couldn't drive on it. And so the next nearest place is Sedegnas, which is farther south from Cedarville. It's similar distance, probably an hour.
Yeah.
And they were like, we got to take you down to Sedegnas. And so, they wheel me out, whatever, and I'm in the ambulance, and I'm all morphined up, can't feel nothing, I'm good. And we drive down to Sedegnas, and we get there, and they're like, we don't have a doctor here that is qualified to set your wrist right now. They're like, you got to go down to Petoskey. Petoskey is like another hour and a half south from there, and it's across the bridge. It's in Lower Michigan.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they couldn't ambulance me from Sedegnas to Petoskey. They were like, well, you're going to have to drive with somebody. And I had a group of buddies that followed us from the game to the hospital. And so one of my buddies, his name's Zach Staker, he, in his pickup truck, I rode in the passenger seat of his pickup truck with my wrist still not set. It's still just mangled in front of me.
Dangling.
And I don't remember it a lot because they put me on. They gave me a bunch of stuff so that it didn't hurt as bad. And I remember sitting in the truck with my wrist just on my lap with a pillow underneath it, and I had pillows just packed all the way around me. And sorry, I hit the thing. But pillows just packed around me, and they drove me down to Petoskey. And so we get down there. They set my wrist, and I'll never forget.
What does set my wrist mean?
They have to like take your broken bone and
kind of like push it back into place so it'll heal back.
Push it back into place and line it up and then cast it.
Ooh.
And I'll never forget the sound, dude. Like,
Ooh.
I'm sitting.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, is there like
it's terrible. It's terrible. It was like if you took two pieces of metal and just grinded them together, or two rocks and just grinded them together. Like that's what it sounded like. And I was sitting there like. Had my wrist out, and the doctor's standing between me and my wrist so I can't see it. And I'm looking at the nurse. I'm talking to the nurse in front of me, and he's setting my wrist. And I didn't feel it a lot because I was on a bunch of painkillers and whatever. But I remember sitting there talking to her, and like as he's setting it, I can hear it, and it's just like cracking and popping and grinding. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. And
just speaking gibberish to the nurse.
So anyway, fast forward, they get me out of there, and I don't remember, it was like 4 or 6 weeks later, I go back down, they're like, yeah, it's not really healing the way that we need it to, we're going to have to do surgery.
Oh my God.
And so they put me in for surgery, I get a bunch of plates and pins and stuff and a fancy scar on my wrist. And at that point, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing after high school at this point, because now I'm going to miss like half of my baseball season, my senior year. And I don't know if my wrist is ever going to be the same as far as mobility and whatnot. I'm like, I don't know if basketball is the move anymore. And so I'm talking to my high school baseball coach, Dan Rambo, who ended up hooking me up with Steele. And he's like, listen, dude, like, you could go play basketball, and, like, that'd be cool. You could play basketball for 4 years, get a degree, and, like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, chances are you're not going to play in the NBA, right? But he's like, with your build, and if you get with the right guys and you develop the right way, then, you know, you might have a shot to maybe play baseball beyond college. You know, you don't know, but you probably have a better chance at that than you do at basketball. Yeah. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Like, let's do it. And so I commit to Kellogg Community College. Wow. I go down there my freshman year, was not good. I threw like 80, 82, had no idea what I was doing. Threw a few innings, but not a lot. Like, I wasn't a starter. Yeah. You know, I'd start like a midweek here and there, but like I wasn't like an established starter. And got through my freshman year, healthy, whatever. Came back sophomore year for the fall. Still was not good. I was like 82, 83, you know, which to me, I felt like, oh, my velo's climbing, you know, I'm throwing 83 now. And my college coach, Eric Lescovy, you know, he was a huge influential figure in just my overall just baseball journey, right? Like, he was, at the time, you know, I felt like he was hard on me when I was there, and I hated that because I felt like he was constantly challenging me. And you know, there was so many times I'd call back home to my dad and I'd be like, Dad, like, this guy, he's up my ass all the time. Yeah. Like, I don't know if this is it for me. And my dad's like, listen, like, he's challenging you. Like, he wants to see, how are you going to respond? Are you going to put the work in to try and get better? Or are you just going to fold and just go home?
Fucking love it.
You know, and my dad was like, no, you're going to stick it out. Yeah. And so I stuck it out, you know, and got committed to the weight room, put on a little bit of weight, you know, got up to like probably 88 to 87, 89 maybe, nice, you know, my sophomore year. Got in the starting rotation, threw well, got recruited by a handful of schools, mostly just area schools, you know. A lot of places, like a lot of the D1, you know, I had a couple D1s, but they all, you know, said that I didn't throw hard enough. And so I ended up going to Davenport University, a Division II school that had previously been NAIA, and they were transferring to Division II. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go over there and see what happens. And so I go over there, first fall, my velo just jumps. I'm throwing like 91, 92, touching 94s. Nice. And I'm like, oh, this is looking really good, you know? Yeah. And so like fall meetings, you know, I'm talking with them, and they're like, hey, man, like, we're really impressed. Like, you're definitely going to be in the starting rotation, whatever. And I'm like, hey, things are looking up, you know? And so I go home for Thanksgiving break. Yeah. I'm at deer camp because November in Michigan is deer season. And so I'm at deer camp, and we're packing up deer camp, and I go to hook the trailer up to the truck, and the trailer hitch was froze because it's freaking freezing in the UP. And so I told my brothers, I was like, let's just pick the trailer up and set it right on the truck. And so we go to pick the trailer up, and it's frozen to the ground. And so I go to pull, and like, you know, I feel like a little like pinch, you know, on my shoulder. I'm like, oh, that was weird, whatever, you know. Didn't think anything of it, went about my business. I go back down to school, and now I can't throw a baseball. Like, I can't even throw like 60 feet. My arm's just killing me.
Oh my God,
my shoulder is just killing me. I'm like, what is the deal, you know? And so,
did you know right then and there when that happened? You were like, oh,
no, I never really put the pieces of the puzzle, and I don't know, you know, if that's what it was, you know. But for whatever reason, it aggravated something in my shoulder, you know, and I just couldn't throw. And so, go through like a, I don't know, 6 or 8 week PT program, try to build my arm back. Yeah. Never really got an MRI at that point, and did the program, came back, still not good. Shoulder still hurts. So I go get an MRI, and I'm sitting in accounting class, and I start getting texts and calls from our trainer, our coaches, whatever, you know, and they're like, hey, come meet us in the coach's office. I'm like, that's probably not good. And so go meet with them, you know, and they sit me down, and they're like, hey, man, like, your shoulder's not good. Like, it's really bad. Wow. Like, like slap tear, the labrum's not good, rotator cuff's got some fraying in it. It's all bad. Yeah. And so I remember leaving that meeting, and the first person I called was my dad, and I'm sitting in the parking lot by the field, and I'm talking to my dad, and I'm just bawling, right? Yeah. I'm like, dude, like, things were going so good, exactly, and like, and now I feel like I just got kicked in the nuts. Like, I'm just, things are not good. My career's over. Everything's over, you know, and like, sky's falling. Wow. And so I ended up getting the surgery.
What was Dad's advice right there? What's Pops got to say in that? Do you remember?
He was just like, hey man, you got to do what you got to do. Like if you got to get the surgery, you got to get the surgery and see what happens. You know, it was like, and there was never, you know, like I wasn't doing so good that it was like, oh, I'm gonna get drafted or anything like that. You know, it was just like, oh, I'm doing good enough to be in the rotation.
Exactly, but at your point, that's like
that meant a lot.
Yeah,
you know, it meant a lot. Yeah, you know, and I felt like that at all. It was like this moment of like you feel like you're doing really good and you're doing all the things that you want to be doing. And then all of a sudden, in one moment, it's just taken from you, and it's gone. You know.
Joe said it the other day. He was like, "I'm fucking sick and tired of everybody saying you have so much potential." That was probably the moment for you. You were like, "Everybody's talked about this. Now I'm throwing 91, 90, right?" And you're like, "This is it."
Yeah, it felt like, oh, the stars are starting to align, type of deal. And then all of a sudden, it was like they're gone.
Yep.
You know. And then of course, you know, that was in 2020, and so then COVID hits.
Oh wow.
You know. And so the team was going on the road. I was in the UP fishing with my brothers. And I start seeing all this stuff, you know, that baseball's shutting down, the MLB shut down, college baseball's shutting down, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I hadn't had the surgery yet, and so I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just gonna go to work, and like baseball might be over, you know. And my athletic trainer at Davenport called me like. It was like a few days before the surgery, and he's like, "Hey, man," because like they switched the surgery so that it was only like you couldn't get surgery unless it was like life-threatening.
Yeah, whatever.
And so, so I was thinking like, "Oh, I'm not gonna get the surgery. I'm just gonna. That's it." And so he calls me a few days before the surgery is scheduled, and he's like, "Hey, Dr. Hamilton's gonna get you in. Like you have surgery in like I don't know, it's like 2-3 days, whatever." Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, all right. I'm on the ice at this time when he calls me. I'm fishing. And so I go in from fishing. I'm like, hey, I got to get down to Grand Rapids. Like, I got surgery. And so my mom comes down with me. We go to get the surgery done. And, like, the whole time, like, Dr. Hamilton, he was super transparent about it. He was like, listen, man, like, we're going to do the surgery. And, like, it could fix it. Or you might not like throw a baseball again. Like I can't guarantee you.
No,
anything,
those surgeries,
you know what I mean?
They're very
because it was bad. You know,
especially if you had all three.
When I went over the MRI with him, he was like, "Your shoulder's been torn for a long time. Like this isn't something that just happened. Like your shoulder's been messed up for a while, and like whatever happened that aggravated it enough where you can't stand it anymore happened, but it's been an undergoing thing for a long time." And I had you know when I was at Kellogg and even you know the beginning of Davenport, you know I always had shoulder pain, and I was just like, I can still get the job done, so I'm just going to do it, you know. And so yeah, he was super transparent about it. So he does the surgery, everything went well. Did my first like month or 2 months down in Grand Rapids of physical therapy. Everything was going good. So they sent me home, did everything at home up in the Sioux, and went back in the fall and was like, hey, senior year, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, no, it was my junior year because they got the COVID thing. You know, and so I got a free year. Whatever. And so I go back for my junior year and everything just went awesome. Throwing program, everything awesome.
Wow,
like I'm going way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Like into February, like I'm still doing the throwing program and like it's starting to get to like, oh, let's throw off the mound. And like I felt really good, so I just started letting it eat, you know, and I'm throwing upper 80s, low 90s again. And I'm like, hey, cool. So I work my way back into the starting rotation there in 21. I start like 3 or 4 games in 21. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, never had anything happen where it was like, oh, my shoulder hurts again. Shoulder never hurt, but my velo went from like 88 to 91 to like I can barely touch 84. And I had no reason why. And so
that's what they say happens a lot in those surgeries.
And so they bumped me back to the bullpen, and I finished the year in the bullpen, didn't really throw a lot the rest of the year. And so then going into senior year now in 22, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, I finished the year, sucked last year. Like, let's see what happens. And so go into the year, again, just take off again. Velo goes back up, and I'm like, oh, okay. Through that whole year as the Friday guy, I was like, yeah, this is sick, whatever, finished the year. And I remember it was senior day or around senior day, and I went into the coach's office and I sat down with Tidy, our head coach, and I was like, hey, man, like if there's an opportunity for me, you know, to play beyond Davenport, like I'd like to take it. And him and I had never had this conversation. I remember going in there and telling him that, and he's like, what? Like, I thought you were just going to go back to the UP and just work construction the rest of your life.
He's like, I'm surprised you're not fishing right now.
Yeah, I didn't know that you wanted to play baseball, and I was like, yeah, you know, like I want to try it. And so he got me hooked up over here in the USPBL for a tryout in June. So I went home at the end of the baseball season in college, graduated, whatever, and I remember I went to the high school field, my high school field in Pickford, and I would throw I had like 6 baseballs, and I would just take them to the field and I would throw them into the chain link fence.
Yeah.
And I'd just throw the baseballs in the chain link fence, go pick them up, go back, throw them again.
I love that.
And that was what I did for my throwing for like, it was like 3 or 4 weeks before I went down to the tryout, you know?
Yep.
And so I go down to the tryout, and that was the thing. That was where my dad comes into play. You know, I'm talking to my dad through all this. You know, when I'm throwing up there, and I'm like, Dad, like this is stupid, man. Like, I'm throwing into a chain link fence. Like, I'm throwing bullpens, you know, to nothing. There's no catcher back there. I'm just throwing into air.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, this is stupid. And he's like, son, like just go down to the tryout. If you go down there and you don't make it, cool. You know that it just wasn't it wasn't meant to be. And so I end up going down to the tryout, and I get picked up out of the tryout. Yeah. And
so that's the USPBL, right? That's Jimmy John's Field, where they do the 4 teams, and it's like a indie ball league, right?
Yep. That was in 22, and so I pitched that summer in 22, pitched really well, finished the year good, whatever, and then Steele comes into play. My high school coach,
Dan Rambo. This
is
the most incredible story ever.
Yeah, my high school coach, Dan Rambo, you know, Steele comes back into town, and he reaches out to Steele. He's like, hey, I got this kid, you know, I used to coach him in high school, you know, he's got potential, like you should work with him. Yeah. And so I remember Dan he was down here for whatever reason. He was coming to watch a game, and him and his wife were staying at a hotel around this area, and he texted me, and he's like, hey, come meet me at my hotel room. I want you to meet this guy, Mike Steele. And so I remember the first time I ever met Mike Steele, he was wearing a damn Arizona baseball sweatshirt or whatever. And I walk in and I introduce myself, you know, and I sit down with him, and you know, we get talking, and he's telling me about the kinematic chain or whatever. I'd never heard about it in my life.
You're like, dude,
you know?
shut up.
I'm like,
are you gonna make me throw hard or not?
Yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. Who is this guy? Like, let's see what happens. And so he comes and watches the game. You know, I had to start that night. He comes and watches my start, and we get chatting after the game, and he's like, dude, you're like a 9-year-old with an AK-47. Like, you don't have you have so much potential, and you don't even realize it, you know?
Yeah. He was going to let this thing spray.
Yeah, he's like, dude, we're gonna get together, and we're going to get you right. And so I remember so the season ends in the USPBL, and I go meet with Steele at, like, I don't even know what the park's called, some random park in this area, you know. And
like a children's park, like
yeah, like where people go to walk their dogs, type of deal. And there's like a beer league softball field, you know. And then there's like a brick building that's like the bathrooms. And we're throwing plyos into this brick wall of the bathroom, you know.
Stop it.
And I have videos of it. And Mike's showing me, like, this is what you do, and it's really bad. This is what we need to do. And so he's walking me through all these plyo drills, you know, and like trying to tighten my arm path up. And he's like, go back to the UP, go chill for a month, whatever, and do this stuff. Like, you need to do this stuff. You need to commit to it. Like, this is the point where, like, you either commit to it and we do this, or you just fizzle out and you go. Yeah. He always tells me, he's like, you go work at the bait shop up in the UP. You know,
that's his go-to line.
Yeah. And so I go home and I'm doing it. You know, I'm committed to it. I remember I was throwing baseballs into. I didn't have a catch partner because my brothers, you know, they played baseball, but like they didn't really want to catch with me, and so
yeah, I get that. Yeah,
and so,
my hands
but I mean,
up.
at this point, like I'm not throwing.
Right,
like,
you weren't throwing 95.
I'm throwing like low 90s at best.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad had sheets of like 5/8 plywood in the garage, and I took our fish cleaning station that's like a table, and I propped it up in our backyard. And I leaned that plyo, the sheet of plywood up against it, and I was throwing baseballs into the plywood, and they would roll back down the hill
Oh my
to me.
God,
And
that's incredible.
And that's what I did for my throwing. And so then I came back down. Me and a teammate of mine got an apartment in Utica, and we were meeting with Steele like 2-3 times a week, and then him and I would throw together when we weren't with Steele. And that was all good, you know, did that whole off season.
So that's the off season 22 going into 23, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And Steele was like, hey, you know, there's this Frontier League tryout down in St. Louis, or you and Harry should go down there and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know. And so I go down there, try out. I end up getting picked by the Windy City Thunderbolts in like the draft or whatever they do after the tryout.
You had a good tryout?
Yeah. threw well, did live ABs and whatever,
Nice,
threw well. And I get picked out of that. Well, I was still under contract to go to the
forgot about
USPBL,
that.
you know.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so I'm driving back from St. Louis, and I call Mike, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, Mike, I just got picked by these guys to play in the Frontier League.
Yeah.
What do I do? You know, and he's like, just calm down. Like, let's look over everything. Like, so we go over the contract, and he's like, hey man, like you're good. Like you can go to the Frontier League. And so, but I didn't want to just like ghost him. You know? So I call him at USPBL, and I'm like, hey, this is what I got going on. I got an opportunity to go to the Frontier League. I'm gonna take it. And so we ended up hashing all that out. I ended up going to Chicago, and I remember getting down there and hearing from some of the guys that like, oh yeah, the guys that they draft, like a lot of them don't make it. Like they just bring them down for spring training just to like have bodies, you know, and like a lot of them don't make it. And so I get down there to Chicago, and I'm like, did I just screw up? You know, like
I just had this job.
Am I gonna get gonna get bounced? You know, and so I go down there, and my velo's up.
First of all, who are your managers and coaches?
Richie Sexton was our manager in 23.
Yeah.
When I got picked out of that draft, Richie was the guy that like I shook his hand, whatever, you know, and
That's
I was
awesome.
like, this Richie Sexton.
And you're looking up to him.
Yeah. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's
like,
crazy.
This is so sick.
Yeah.
And so he was our manager, and Jarrett Wright was our pitching coach.
That's so cool too. Yeah.
And dude, one of the most embarrassing moments of my career was like, Jarrett comes over to me, and he's chatting with me before the draft. You know, we're just all sitting there waiting for things to take place. Jarrett comes over and chats with me, just gets to know me, asks me my name. You know, we chat for a little while. No idea that he's Jarrett Wright. You know, no idea that this guy pitched in a World Series.
Yeah.
You know, and so I end up getting picked, whatever, and I'm on my way back, and I'm looking up like, oh yeah, Jarrett Wright, like. Oh, Jarrett Wright, yeah, this guy, yeah, you know, and
just
I'm
had
like,
a full
oh my
conversation.
God. I was just talking to him like it was just some random guy, you know, and so I end up going down. I make the team out of spring training in 23, and they put me in the bullpen. I'd never been in the bullpen before, so that was a little bit of an adjustment, but I liked it. Over time, you know, I got comfortable there, and the velo just was, I was like 92 to 94 probably, which was really good for me at that time. And July, we get like halfway through the season, and we're in Quebec City, and I closed the game out, threw well, go back to the apartment, whatever, or the hotel, whatever, wake up next day, my arm, like I can't pick my arm up. It hurts so bad. And
is it elbow or shoulder?
Elbow.
Yeah.
And so I go to the field that day, and like I can't even play catch. My elbow hurts so bad, and I'm like, I blew my arm up. Like, I don't know how, but I blew my arm up. I finished the game and felt fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't throw. And so I remember I sat down with Richie, and I was like, he's like, hey, what's going on, bud? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I can't.
I wish I had the answer.
For whatever reason, my arm just hurts like hell. And so I go back to Chicago, I get an MRI. They're like, hey, there's no structural issue there. Like, it's just a flexor strain. And so they shut me down for a month of July. You know, I do all the PT for a month, and I come back at the beginning of August, and I throw live to some of our hitters, and I'm 94 to 96 out of nowhere. And I remember.
And you've never thrown 95 or 96
No,
before, right?
never. And like when I say I was 2 to 4 before, I was like mostly like 92, and like maybe I would touch 94.
Touch a 3 or 4,
I would, like once or twice in an outing. And I sat 94, 96 to our hitters, and Jarrett was like, "What the fuck, dude?
He's like, what cycle did you get on?"
He's like, have you ever thrown that hard in your life? I'm like, not even close. Like, I have no idea why. And he's like, all right, cool. And so we go through the month of August. You know, they put me in the back end closing games. You know, and it was like every week my velo would just go up. Like I'd be like 4 to 6, and then I was 5 to 6, touching 7, and then I was 6 to 8, touching 9. You know, I ended the season up to 99, and I'm like, okay, cool. And so I come back with Mike, and he's like, yeah, dude, like, let's just keep rolling with this thing. So I work with Mike through the 23 off season, going into 24, and I go down there, throw well, you know. And then Bobby Jenks was our manager in 24.
It's unbelievable.
Frontier
League just pumping out managers.
Bobby was the man. Like Bobby was awesome.
R.I.P.
Like, R.I.P. man. He was
crazy.
such a great guy, and he helped me a lot with like the mental side of like working out of the bullpen, and just like kind of got me in that mode of just like just give me the ball. Like I just want it, you know. And so I was there for 2 weeks in 24. Probably one of the best stretches of pitching that I've ever had. Like it was like. It never felt more automatic than it did at that time.
What a flow state of that.
And so, and
can you tell the 100? Can you tell the first time you hit 100?
Yeah, so
we got to tell this story.
Yeah, so we were playing. I don't remember. It was a night game, whatever. And I come into close, and I'm pumping gas, bro. Like I'm sitting 98, 99. Like I feel like nobody can touch my shit.
You can see it on the scoreboard, like, or
Yeah,
you just know it's.
They have the radar gun in the outfield, you know. And I'll be honest, like I was velo checking. Like I'm throwing the ball, and as soon as I'm getting it back from the catcher, I'm looking back.
I'm gonna be honest. If you're in the Frontier League and you're throwing 98, 99, you can stare at that scoreboard.
Yeah,
I don't care.
So I'm checking, and it was awesome too because my dad had actually come down
Yeah.
for that series. It was like a 3-game series through the weekend, and there was actually like a good amount of people at the game, you know, and they're all going crazy. Like every time that I hit 99, they're like, I can hear them throw 100, throw 100. He can't hit it, you know. And I'm out there, I'm juiced, you know.
And catcher's putting down slider, you're like, no.
And so finally, I let one go, and it flashes 00, and like you'd have thought that we just hit a walk-off home run. Like everybody in the stadium's going crazy, you know. I'm juiced, you know, like just absolutely maxed out adrenaline. And yeah, it was super cool.
That's awesome.
Ended up
you
striking
forgot that
out.
You had to get a save.
Yeah, well, I ended up striking out the last guy on 100,
Oh,
and it was like, it was so sick, dude. And like, got to go out after the game and like meet my dad, and my dad's like crying. He's like, "Son, I'm so proud of you."
That's
you know, like,
awesome.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I got chills. Yeah, that's
yeah,
sick.
it was a super cool moment, you know. And then like the day after, 2 days after, you know, I get a text from a Yankees scout, and I'm at the.
So that's weird. You threw 100 and you did really well, and then like scouts were hitting you up. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I remember I was at the gym after the game one night with one of my teammates, and we were like walking on the treadmill, him and I get this text from this Yankees guy, and I'm like, I show my buddy, I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck, you know? I'm like, what do I do? He's like, what do you mean? What do you do? I'm like, well, I've never had a scout reach out to me. Like, what do I say to this guy? You know? And so he's like, well, if you're that uncomfortable with it, just call Bobby. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I go into the locker room at the gym and I call Bobby and I'm like, Bobby, like this guy just reached out to me. Like, what do I say?
Is it
he's
real?
Like,
Is somebody spamming?
He's like, yeah, I know he reached out to you, dipshit. Like, I'm the one that gave you his contact information. Or gave him your contact information. He's like, just be cool. Like, just tell him, you know, answer his questions, normal, whatever. And so I'm texting back and forth with this guy, and, you know, I throw a couple more outings. It keeps going well. We threw a morning game. It was a morning game, like a 10 a.m. like kids game, you know, kids day. So it's packed with elementary kids. And I get done I close the game, throw well, and this guy, this Rays scout, well, I thought he was a scout at the time. It was Kevin Eibach, the assistant GM for the Rays. I'm walking in from the bullpen. I go out, grab my stuff, and I'm walking in from the bullpen. He like pulls me to the side, and I'm chatting with him. And Bobby comes over, and you know, I end up leaving, and he's chatting with him, whatever. And I thought he was just a scout, you know. And so get done with that. I'm like calling my parents. I'm like, yeah, I just talked to a Rays scout. Like, yeah, this is sick. Like, I don't know if anything's gonna happen, but like,
there's some buzz.
You know, people are reaching out, you know. And I go back to my apartment. My girlfriend was in town. We're at my apartment just chilling for the afternoon because it was a morning game. And all of a sudden, I start getting calls from Steele. I'm getting calls from my college baseball coaches, you know, and they're like, hey, you know, this Rangers guy just reached out to me about you. Like, oh, this Rockies guy, he's calling about you. Like, are you throwing 100? Mike's like, you're throwing 100? You know,
like, is this right? Are these reports right?
I didn't talk to Steele when I threw 100, and he was pissed about it. He's like, you're throwing 100 and you didn't call me?
I would be very mad if I was coaching you, and I'd be like, are you kidding me?
I'm like, my bad, dude. A lot's going on right now, Mike. And so we're chilling at my apartment, and all of a sudden Bobby calls me, and he's like, yeah, hey, the Rays are buying your contract. Like, you're going to be a Tampa Bay Ray. And he's like, just keep it on the down low right now. Like, you got to go down past physical and everything. And, like, once you do all that, like, you're going to be with the Rays. And I was like, oh, sick. He's like, just show up to the field tomorrow. Like, you're not going to throw in the game. Just do your stuff, whatever. Call your parents. So I called my parents, and I remember I called my dad like 6 times, and his phone he didn't answer. And so I called my little brother, and I was like, hey, are you with Dad? And he's like, yeah, we're working in the garage. Why, what's up? I was like, dude, you got to get Dad on the phone, put it on speakerphone. And like I told them, and like they were super stoked. Like it was a super awesome moment.
Would you be able to tell the story right now without tearing up?
I mean,
no, you don't have to tell the story, but I was just wondering.
I could definitely tell it without tearing up, just because like, it was more of just like I don't know. It was just it was exciting. Yeah, right? You know, like it was just pure excitement. Like I was so excited to call home and tell my dad, he was a mess.
That's what I mean. I was like, dude,
remember,
that's the moment with a father and son.
He goes out to the garage and he's got it on speakerphone, and I'm like, Dad, like I got to tell you something. He's like, yeah, son, what's going on? I'm like, I'm gonna be a Tampa Bay Ray, and he was like this pause over the phone, like he's like crying, he's trying to talk. Like,
yeah.
Like it was just super cool. And like I was telling him, like, just don't tell anybody. Like, I don't want it out there.
Don't put it on Facebook.
I got to pass this stuff. Bobby was that was another thing. Bobby was super helpful through that process because he was like, you don't want to go down there and for whatever reason you don't pass physical, and then you look like an asshole because you just told everybody this, and now you're not. It doesn't happen. And so, I remember I was at the game the next day, just watched the game, and go into the clubhouse after, and my phone is blown. They told me initially, they were like, hey, just chill in Chicago for a few days, like we'll get you down here. And my phone's blown up with like missed calls and texts, and they're like, hey, the MLB is speeding this process up on us. We got to have you down here, physical done, paperwork signed by tomorrow at 6 p.m. or whatever. And they're like, we bought you a plane ticket for like 5:30 out of O'Hare. And it's like 1:30. I haven't packed a single thing in my apartment. I haven't packed anything, And so I go into the coach's office and I'm like, Bobby, like, this is what, he's like, dude, you got to go. And I'm like, all right.
You don't have a choice.
I just grabbed everything. I didn't put anything in a bag. I just grabbed heaping handfuls of stuff and just threw it in my van. And
is Julia still there at this point, or has she gone?
I think that she might have left like that day prior or something. And so I drove to O'Hare. I get to my gate like as they're boarding, and I jump on the plane, fly down there, do all the physicals and stuff. And I got an MRI on my arm when I was down there, and we were driving back from the MRI place back down to Port Charlotte, and the person at the MRI place calls and they're like, hey, something went wrong with the MRI. Like we got to get another one. We got to get like a clearer reading. And I'm thinking like something's wrong with my arm.
They want
like,
a double look.
I'm not going to pass this thing. Like, you got to be shitting me.
They want to put the dye in there now. Make sure everything is in there.
Dude. So many thoughts. I was just freaking out. God. And so we go back up there and I get the MRI. I end up passing everything. And so they fly me back to Chicago so I can get my van. And I drive down there and jump on with the Rays and played in the complex league for.
So that was 24 that you signed, the beginning of 24?
Yeah, it was like the middle of May in 24. And I played 2 weeks in the complex league through like 3 or 4 outings down there. Did okay. I had a couple outings that weren't really great, and I immediately started thinking like, yep, they're gonna release you. They're gonna shit can me, dude. Like I'm done. Like,
it's over.
I've thrown 2 outings down here. They have not been as good as they should have been, and I'm done.
Was your stuff still good? Like when you got down there, like still throwing upper 90s?
Yeah. The velo was good. It was just like command. It was command and getting behind in counts and whatnot. And just,
which looking back now, like you probably understand that the Rays were probably like, yeah, this kid is probably going to take a little while to get his like.
Yeah. No, but I was just mashing the panic button.
Exactly. Right? Yeah.
And I threw my best outing at the Braves complex and went back after the game, pulled me into the coach's office. They're like, hey man, you're going to BG. Like,
let's
congrats,
go.
And so
first promotion.
I grab all my stuff out of the apartment. I'm calling my parents like, yeah, I'm going to high A. This is sick, and I'm driving up to BG and
Bowling Green's around here, right?
It was close to Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
That was another thing that was it was kind of funny looking back on it now. Like when I told everybody like I'm going to Bowling Green, I didn't think about the fact that there's a Bowling Green in Ohio.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, dude, we're gonna be able to go watch. All my boys in college, from that I played with in college, they're like, oh, dude, we're gonna come watch you play all the time. Like you're right here. And then they do a little research themselves. They call me back. My best friend called me back, and he's like, dude, you're in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Like I'm not driving down there.
I love you, bro, but we ain't coming that far.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So I went down in 24. I went up to Bowling Green and pitched okay. And then stayed healthy through the off season. Went there this last year. Was there for like the first month, and then got promoted to AA and finished the year in Montgomery. And now I'm here.
We like that. So 2 years, 2 promotions.
That was a super long story of my baseball career, but
this is why it's on a podcast.
A lot of stuff.
But dude, your story too, and like I told you before when I asked you, like. If you were born in a different situation, a different area at a different time, and your timing was different, you might have your path there might have been different. But this to me is so encouraging because again, baseball, you know, in the world of all these youth kids trying to get seen in 8th grade and shit, you're like, I'm sitting next to a big leaguer who, you know, again, there still has to be some things that need to fall for you to get there this year. But I'm playing catch with you every day, knowing you have big league shit, and you got seen when you needed to and when you were right, and that's the way baseball world works, you know. And that's so. I've loved your story. I love that you've always shared it and been honest about that shit.
Yeah,
too.
no, absolutely.
Cool,
you know, because it's definitely unique, and the thing that I got blessed with so many people throughout the years working up to where I'm at now, and Mike being probably the best one, you know, like getting with him and cleaning some stuff up, and you know, I may have not known what I was doing half the time, but I
trusted the process.
I just trusted him and trusted the process, you know, and he was super transparent, as you know how he is, you know, where he was just like, I'll never forget when he told me, like, you have to, like, you're either going to commit to this now and it's going to take off, or it's not. If you're going to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, it's not going to work. You have to commit to this. And that was why I moved down here, you know, because I had that realization moment, you know, after getting with him, where it was like, if I'm going to put my best self towards this and really try to do this, like, I can't do it in the UP. I can't do it, you know, doing a week in the UP and then coming down and seeing Mike for a day and then going back up there. Like, I have to be down here. And that was why I moved down here and getting with him. And he was like, there's not an easy way to do this, dude. Like, you have to just come in here every day and just do the reps and be committed to it and be intentional in your work. Don't just come in and just go through the motions. Like, have a purpose with what you're doing. And there might be some cool shit on the other side.
That's exactly right.
And I just bought into that and told myself, like, I'm just going to jump on board with this. I'm going to jump on this wagon and see where it goes. And
But I mean, that's what we talk about, right? And I'm going to ask you a question here in a second that'll probably prove this. But I mean, the work is the key. We listened to that little clip right before we turned these cameras on with Mike saying it. You know, 7 consistent days of doing the work is better than 3 high intensity days, right? And that kind of stuff. So it's like, you can't just put in the work and take some pictures and say I did it and feel like you're doing it. You need to, especially this stuff. Like, what you were doing was relearning. Like, you're at 23 or whatever you were, you know what I'm saying? Like, how to move again, you know? So it's crazy. So you have to do it every day. And the consistency in the work is the biggest thing. But what do you think was the biggest, you know, you've had a year and a half now of professional baseball or so, almost 2 years, right? No, 2 years.
Going on 2 years.
Yeah, going on 2 years.
Months, yeah.
What's the biggest difference in the club, besides like the quality of, you know, as you get higher up and stuff, besides the quality of the training resources and stuff, the personnel and the competition and that kind of stuff? What do you think was the biggest difference that you saw?
The biggest difference in affiliate ball versus like any?
Yeah.
I would say just like I don't know if you want to call it professionalism of like.
Yeah, I would call it that, yeah.
There's more guys, I think, that are, the skill gap is so small, you know, and all the guys are doing exactly what you're doing. You know, there's not like, you know, in college you have guys that are committed and are doing it.
Yep.
And then you have guys that are kind of like half in, half out, happy to be here. And then you have guys that are just like, fuck it, you know, I'm playing college baseball and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like everybody at the level that I'm at now expects to be a big leaguer. It's not like they're just like doing it as like, oh, I'm happy in AA. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
a great point. Yeah.
Like, everybody expects to be a big leaguer. They're very intentional with what they're doing every day. Every day that they show up to the park, it has a purpose. You know, there's never a day where they just show up and it's like, you know, I'm just going to waste a day today. You know, even if it might be, and that's the thing that I feel like I've tried to mature myself in, is understanding that like not every day has to be like a maximum intent. Like, there might be days that you show up to the park and you do very little, but it's intentional. It has a purpose in what you're doing. You know what I mean? Whether it's nutrition, whether it's, you know, going into the training room and just like getting some treatment done, making sure that your body's right, because tomorrow you know that you're probably getting the ball.
Yep.
You know, and
watching
not
some film or
like doing something productive at the park every day. I feel like is something that is a difference between any level of baseball that I've ever played versus now being an affiliate ball, is that every day at the park there's intention. we're getting something out of the day. We're not just here showing up and just sitting on our asses because, I threw yesterday. I know I'm not getting the ball today. I'm just going to waste a day.
Exactly.
You have to have a purpose in your recovery and your nutrition and getting your lifts in and understanding that some days you're not going to feel great. Some days you're going to show up even in the off season, you show up to the facility, some days you're not going to feel great, but what's on your schedule that day? It has to get done.
Yep.
It's kind of telling your mind, not giving your mind an option, because I feel like the mind is such a powerful thing. You can talk yourself out of a lot of stuff, oh, my arm doesn't feel good today. I'm scheduled to throw this amount today, but my arm doesn't feel good. Maybe I'll just cut it in half.
Yep.
No, you have to be committed to the process and to what your schedule is, and understand that me pushing through today is going to make tomorrow better. It's going to make the following day better. Same thing in the weight room. It's you show up to the weight room some days and it's I really don't feel like doing this today.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's there's not an option. It has to be done.
Yep. And that's what we talked about. It was Tony Robbins always says, I don't negotiate with my mind. I make my mind up and I do it. That's what I do. I don't give it any energy to think, should I do it? Should I not? No, this is what I do.
Right.
And I think that's what big leaguers do.
Right.
And the routine can change, and it might change as you get
and
older.
You can make adjustments to it.
Yeah.
And you can make adjustments to it, but it's
the commitment to work, like you
said.
Right.
Exactly.
This
it's
is what
getting something out of the day, and when I say the weight room, for example, you might modify the lift and do something a little different here than what's on the schedule because I'm feeling this, I want to attack this today. But it's the idea of getting in and getting the work done, and not saying oh, I can take this day off. It's okay, because your mind will do that. Your mind will tell you,
and it'll convince you.
Yeah, and you can convince yourself of anything.
But that's why you say you just don't even let it.
You can convince yourself that I'm doing what's best for me by not going at all.
Exactly.
It's easy to convince yourself
exactly.
that. But in the long run, the way that I try to think of it is on the day that I decide that I'm not going to go put the work in, somebody's doing it.
Yep.
Somebody's doing exactly what I'm not willing to do that day, and therefore they're going to get further ahead than I'm going to get.
There's a really good quote about that.
And everybody,
somewhere,
it's super cliche, and but there's so much truth to it.
And we talked about too, that little bit of confidence when you're holding a ball and there's a batter going to that box, that confidence of knowing where it's going, and then even having a little edge. I used to tell myself at LSU, I'd be like, I know I outworked you, motherfucker.
Exactly.
I know what this at bat's going to happen. Sometimes I would even get cocky and tell him what's going to happen.
100%, 100%.
But it was a belief in my head.
And I think that that's the most powerful thing that comes with working through those days that you don't necessarily want to. Is that it gives you that added confidence when shit does get tight and you're in a tight moment in a game. It's I've prepared myself for this. I've done the work. I've gone through those hard days of not wanting to do it and doing it anyway, to get myself to this spot so that I can succeed in this moment. Exactly. It leaves out that little bit of doubt in the back of your head.
What's the biggest thing you think you want to work on, or you need to work on, or you're looking forward to doing to make yourself kind of get over that last hump to get to the big leagues? And it might not be anything. It might be just consistency.
Consistency is always, I feel like, the number one thing. I feel like that's kind of what I always put on myself is to be as consistent as possible. Not even so much outing to outing as far as results, right? Just being consistent in my day-to-day schedule at the park or whatever. And I think that the biggest thing for me going into this year is almost just not being so hard on myself. If I do have a bad outing or because I'm going to have bad outings. You know what I mean? You're going to have bad outings. And not being so hard on myself in those moments and being able to move beyond them quicker.
Nice.
So that it's if I have a bad outing on a Tuesday and I get the ball again on a Thursday or a Friday, that bad outing on Tuesday is gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone from my memory.
Nice.
Because I feel like that's something that I've struggled with my entire life as an athlete is almost dwelling on the failure and feeling like I need to punish myself because of failure.
Wow.
And I want to grow beyond that and think more in the moment, I guess, if that makes sense, where it's
absolutely.
I'm focused on today. I'm focused on this outing. I'm focused on this game. I'm focused on this inning. I'm focused on this batter. I'm focused on this pitch, and breaking it all the way down to there where, I'm not thinking about, what happened yesterday or what happened 2 days ago in that outing. I'm right now,
And as a reliever, that's going to be the
I think that that's something as I watch big leaguers, on TV and whatever, and I'm around the facility with them during the spring and whatnot. I think that that's something that the really good big leaguers do, is like, if a guy gave up 6 runs yesterday and a start, he shows up the next day and you wouldn't even know that happened yesterday. He's the same guy today that he was yesterday and the day before.
Yep.
And I think that that's what separates guys. And that's where, like, my goal is to get myself there, where it's like I'm the same guy every single day, good or bad, and not riding the highs too high and not riding the lows too low. You know.
I love that.
So
when a manager can trust you and be like, I know what I'm getting from this guy every single day, right? Whether it's energy, consistent, whatever it is, that's it. So
just being a bulldog.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
that's the guy he wants in the game.
Being able to go out and get it done even when you aren't feeling that good, or whatever, you know, whatever's going on, maybe in your personal life or whatever. Being able to separate that and be like, I'm gonna bulldog through this right now and get the job done. You know.
Love it. Derrick Edington, very much looking forward to your season this year. Hopefully a big league debut that we'll be at. Thank you so much for your time, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.